Okay, my YouTube people, today's video is going to be on my 5-speed transmission. This happens to be out of a 95 Softail. The kicker, the shaft's turning but something inside's slipping, so I'm going to go in and see what that's about. Also, I just want to say thank you. I'm approaching 2,000 subscribers and I really appreciate it. I'm shocked that 2,000 people follow me, and I'm very thankful for that. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I appreciate it. And here we go. First thing I'm going to do is there's a drain on this cover, and I'm going to drain the oil out of the transmission. And you can see that that oil is about as clean as it gets. I run the Mobil 1 7590 synthetic. Now I'm going to take the bolt out that holds the breather, and then I'll take the bolts out that hold the kicker cover on. The bolt for this only held this in place. It doesn't go all the way through into the case. Across the bottom it has these larger bolts. And you can see the transmission cover popped off right there already. That's probably from the clutch adjustment. Okay, and there it is off. So I'm guessing what's spinning's right here or right here. This nut still has the locking tab, so that I don't think like that's spinning. Guessing the problem's right over here at the kicker gear. While I have this apart, I'm going to replace the throwout bearing because I've seen them go bad quite a bit. So I'm right here, I might as well. Interesting, nothing's jumping out at me except for I never bent a locking tab on this nut. One thing that I want to point out is, well, the kicker arm is straight up. The pin on this gear sits at about 7 o'clock. Alright, I'm going to knock this nut off. That didn't take much. It does have Loctite on it, so that's good. Now let's see what's going on. Well, this does not appear to be the problem because this is still square. I'm not sure what the problem is here. What's slipping? Figure it out. The shaft looks to be in good shape. This cover's still in great shape. There's nothing wrong with it. The bushings look real good in it. Wasn't leaking any oil, so that's good. So the problem's not there. That would lead me to believe that maybe this gear here is bad. Not sure, and that's a... Or maybe this is slipping. Broke the key, and this is slipping. Alright, and take the lock off this nut and then take that nut off. Had plenty of Loctite on it. And I see what the problem is. The problem is it broke this key. A piece of it's laying right there in the gear. There's another piece still in the gear here, in the keyway here, and then there's a piece down in here. So that could have been worse, and it's no big deal. Well, I assembled this all in 2005, so I guess it had a good run. I got this 5-speed kicker kit from Custom Chrome back when they were in business. I know they're supposed to be coming back, but who knows. And then it screws this extension shaft onto your stock shaft and then adds this plate. I think at the time it was about $240 or $250. So that's a pretty easy fix, and I probably have the key here. A little bit of goo along the bottom, nothing to really get upset over. I mean, you're just going to get a little bit of dark oil, maybe even a little bit of shavings in it. Well, there's the sheared key. It just so happens that I have another one in my stash. So I'm going to put this one in and put it back together. First thing I'm going to do is clean the Loctite out of the threads. And I'll do that with some brake clean also. I'm also going to wipe my parts down, make sure they're good and clean. And I'll give them a spray with some brake clean off camera. The way this spring goes on and it sets into this gear. Okay, before I put this back together, I'm going to take a little oil and make sure I give everything a good coat of oil, but not the threads. Now I put the spring on here, the kicker clutch gear, like that. Make sure the spring sits into that groove on the back of it. And now the key, now the kicker gear. give that a little tap with a hammer. Be careful not to hit your threads. Now I like to give this a little tap on, so I'll put a socket over the threads. Now I'm going to give the key and set back the key a little bit. Now I'm going to put the locking tab on. You have to make sure this tang out the back sits in where the key slot is. And before I put the nut on, I'm going to put some red Loctite on the threads. Now I'm going to put the nut back on. Go tap it in with the impact and then I'll torque it. Now I'm going to torque it to 50 foot-pounds. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bend the locking tab over. Now that the locking tab's bent over, I'm going to put the kicker shaft and the kicker arm back in the cover and put the gear on it. On the kicker shaft, it gets this washer. There's a real heavy bevel in that washer. That bevel goes up against here in case there's any imperfections. It'll still sit flat. Before I put the shaft back in, I'll clean the Loctite off the threads and make sure they're good and clean with brake clean. Get some red Loctite on it. You can see I got a good bit of red Loctite on it. Now I'm going to put it in. With the kicker arm at 12 o'clock, I'm going to put the gear on, and this post went 8 o'clock. There it is. Now the locking tang and the nut. I'm just going to give this one a tap with the impact gun. I'm not going to torque it. And that'll be plenty. Now I'll bend one of the locks over. Okay, you can see I got it bent over there. Last thing I'm going to do before I put the cover on, put the clutch throwout bearing with the oil slinger on. And here comes the cover. I'm going to hit all these cover bolts with a little bit of blue Loctite. Now I'll snug them all down and then torque them to 115 inch-pounds. Now I'm going to put the drain plug back in. I put a little liquid Teflon thread sealant on it. Of course. The kicker return spring goes back onto that nut. Last thing I'm going to do is fill it with the Mobil 1 synthetic gear lube. 75W90. With the added kicker extension, it takes a full quart. Always like to just double check it. And there you have it. So thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate it. You have any comments or anything like that, always read them and try to respond. And there it is, all back together.